Welcome back to a Black and Audacious, and we are here with a very special guest today, Miss Alicia Thompson. I'm Akate, your host, and my co-host are Nakia and Tawanda. Just want to really get into some things with you all because our guest is someone who I have admired for a very, very long time. And just to give you all a little bit of background information on Alicia, I'm going to do the Twitter version. I have to do the Twitter version because the resume is long. It is very, very long. And of course, we want to give you your flowers, but want to give, our audience a little bit about you before we kind of jump into the conversation. So Alicia used to be the general manager of Edelman Atlanta, managing director of Novelli, president of PRSA of Georgia, president of Black Public Relations Society of Atlanta, and PR Week Hall of Fame inductee. Let's give her a round of applause because that in itself is absolutely amazing. We were talking before we jumped on. I met Alicia a little over 10 years ago, and it was really interesting because I've been in the industry for over 20 years now, and I'm not always impressed with individuals that I meet and run into who are in our industry because I think it really takes a lot for you to be at the top of your game in this industry. And it really takes putting in the work and the results that come out of the work that you do. And you have done it at a high level with just dignity and integrity. And that is very rare for our industry. Very, very rare. So I want to say to you, thank you for occupying our space because I think that our audience is going to get really a glimpse into what it really takes to be in this, communications PR profession, and it's not for the faint of heart. I've said that multiple times on, previous episodes that this industry is not for the faint of heart. So I want to kind of jump into things and just kind of start out with tell us a little bit about your journey and, some of those pivotal moments. I know I just rattled off, some of the roles that you've held, whether it's on the corporate side or in the agency environment. How has that journey shaped who you are today?
Yeah. So I'm a Carolina girl. I was born and bred in North Carolina, but I've been in Atlanta for 32 years, and it's hard for me to say those words because it feels just like I got here yesterday. But I wanted to adult. I wanted to be an adult. I wanted to get away from my parents. I wanted to move far enough away so they couldn't be in my business, but close enough if I needed to quickly. So I came to Atlanta and started my career in the lifestyle and entertainment PR agency world, and had been fortunate enough to have a career in Atlanta for 32 years and never had to move, which is kind of unheard of amongst a number of my peers. And so pivotal moments, I mean, you rattle off some of the things that I've done. Those are some of the bigger things I've done. I think some of the game changers for me was when I was the vice president of PR for Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. That is where I discovered my true voice. I had an amazing CEO named Ken Keemer that said, I need to hear from you. You have a point of view. We need to hear it, or we're not making the right decisions. So that was one. I had the amazing opportunity to work for my first Black female boss, Nicole Merritt at Bell South. She is a dear friend now, but she showed me what a wicked, smart, unapologetically me woman looked like in the corporate world. And she was a boss then, and she's still a boss, but she was someone that I modeled myself after. And then another pivotal moment for me was my first layoff from Coca-Cola, because that showed me that I had so much more resilience than I thought I did. And it showed me that I could take agency over my own career and continue down a path of development and growth And that one job loss did not determine my
Yeah.
outlook, my future, or anything. But yeah, it's been an amazing ride. That's all I can say. It's been an amazing
No,
ride.
I mean, that's really great to hear because, when you talk about, the Bell Souths of the world, Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, Coca-Cola, these are the brands that a lot of us aspire to work for.
Yeah.
We've seen, of course, the marketing engine behind these brands and the PR plays a huge role in that,
Mhm.
coming up with the brand narrative and making sure you're telling those, authentic stories that are really going to resonate with that target demographic. Can you kind of go into, I'm really interested to hear about Popeye's, Louisiana Kitchen, because Popeye's actually had a moment in time, not too long ago where, people really want to talk that chicken sandwich was where, the lines were like backed up down
Mhm.
the street, or people were like, I want to get this chicken sandwich. Tell us a little bit about, how the inner workings of how to develop, it's food. We know it's
Yeah.
food and it's really good food. And like, I love Popeyes. I love it. I'm not gonna lie. And then people always talk about the biscuit. Like they were like, oh my God, the biscuit's so dry. I love the biscuit. I like dry biscuits,
Yeah.
I guess, but I love the biscuits. But talk about how you come up with that messaging, that brand narrative
Yeah.
that's going to reach, a broad demographic of people.
Yeah. So look, PR is all about storytelling. If you don't enjoy being a storyteller, it's not where you need to be. But I so thoroughly enjoyed working for Popeyes and for Coca-Cola because they were companies that had a story. They had a naturally built-in story. Popeyes comes from a place. It's not just a McDonald's. It's not just, a
Yeah.
Chipotle. It comes from a place where there are people and there's a pot of cultures, and all of those cultures coming together make Popeyes, everything about Popeyes what it is, from the seasonings in the chicken to how the biscuits are made, the red beans and rice, the history of cooking those on the stove. Everything about Popeyes was a story. So I walked into an amazing opportunity
Mhm.
telling stories of brand that people connected with. Everybody could see their grandmother, and if it was fish on Sundays or it was, everybody had a family story that they connect the dots somehow to what grounded Popeye. And so by leveraging that story, we were able to make emotional connections. And we all know that if you have an emotional connection to a brand or a product, you are that much more loyal to it. You are
Mhm.
much more apt to purchase it. Same thing with Coca-Cola. I mean, it's a 100-plus-year-old company, and everybody has a Coca-Cola story, right? So
Yes.
it is what it is. And so I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to work for a brand that, like I always say, our manifestos, we come from a place called Louisiana and from more
Mhm.
specifically New Orleans. And
Mhm.
everything that you think about New Orleans comes through in Popeyes. It started with the rebrand from Popeyes Chicken and Biscuits to Louisiana Kitchen to
Mhm.
anchor us in our Louisiana roots. And then it went to the redesign of our restaurants where you had the containers of the spices and all the color palette, all of those hues being the seasoning ingredients. Um, and so it was an amazing experience, and it was probably one of the most defining for me in my career. I was there almost 10 years. Hard to believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Mm.
When I
You know,
started at
lo-
Popeye, they didn't have a they didn't have a president. So I joined the company that was being run by employees, and that was what attracted me.
Oh,
oh
yes.
wow. That's
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 key
I
because
love
I
that.
would assume that the culture really just breeded that essence of, like you said, having that emotional connection.
Yes,
So, yeah, that's awesome.
yes.
I want to go back to you said that you're a North Carolina girl,
Hmm.
right? Twanda, North Carolina girl,
Yep, yep, yep.
right? Twanda's from North Carolina as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that you went to college in
Hmm.
North Carolina, bachelor's, master's. Kind of what inspired you to want to go into this field, this
So
comms industry, and what inspired you to do that?
So interestingly enough, I didn't know there was anything called PR until the last semester of my senior year of undergrad. And I had taken every course in the communications department, which was my minor, except PR, and I needed 3 more hours to graduate. And I was like, oh, I'll take this PR class. And I fell in love with it because, like I said, I was intrigued by storytelling. And when I discovered PR, I knew I had found my calling. And as a Black woman, as Black people, we are storytellers. Our history is a story that we're telling, and we're carrying that history forward. So storytelling's always been something that I enjoyed. And then I also think that as Black folks, we have a unique skill in observation, and it's honed by a lifetime of experience. We have to read the room. We have to know how we'll be received, who can be an ally in that room, who we need to keep at arm's length. Observation leads to curiosity, and that leads me to better understand my audience and the users of my story. So the storytelling aspect of PR is what hooked me, and it's the thing that has kept me in the game for 30 years.
No, I love that. Absolutely love that. You know, I want to shift gears just a little bit because one of the things that I have been inspired by you over the course of your career and someone who's been on the outside looking in is your leadership and the impact that you've made on a lot of people. And I think that you don't really know how far that impact has actually spread, even people that you haven't worked with. Like I have never worked with you directly, but I have been in the industry in Atlanta. When I came here, I was a part of, the Black Public Relations Society, where you were, leading the charge there. Um, Immediately when I met you, it was this woman knows exactly who she is. And I knew what you stood for. And when you come across someone like that, I think that you pay attention, which I did. You pay attention to who they are, you pay attention to their journey. I've connected with you on LinkedIn. And by the way, if anyone wants to connect with Alicia on LinkedIn, please do, because the posts, the content that you actually put out there is so inspiring and it's always uplifting. You're never that person who's doom and gloom, who's going to talk about, downtrodden and this and that. It really is, that positive energy that you spread when you walk into any room that you enter. And so I really think that's important. But thinking about leadership, I actually found this video of you years ago when you were talking about leadership, and I want to share that with the audience so that we can kind of see who you were then. And then I want to ask you about who you are today as a leader.
Okay.
So there are a couple of key qualities in my mind that make excellent leaders in public relations. Again, first and foremost is integrity. You have to be seen as honest. Second is a constant curiosity and a willingness to constantly learn and challenge yourself. Third would be a commitment to excellence and delivering a brilliant work product for the client. And finally would be a courage to do the right thing.
Love it. So, do those four still hold true today? Is that where you feel like you have to be those four things in order to be a great leader?
Yeah, I'd say they're still in my top 10, probably. Authenticity. I didn't talk about that in that group, in that specifically in that video, but authenticity. And you just said, I am who I am. I've always been who I am. And so I'm authentic to the core, always. I think something I would add to that now at this point in my career is about being fearless and having the courage to do the right thing, not being afraid of what's right, and letting your voice and point of view always be heard. I think so those four, yes, definitely, but authenticity and fearlessness, I would add to it for sure.
So it's interesting, that we are, entering into a time where they're trying to eliminate DEI, from all industries, all institutions. And what does that look like for you? As you've been pretty much in a leadership role for the past 15 years
Mhm.
of your career, and probably longer than that now that I think about it. There's so much that has changed over time. We've gone through a pandemic.
Yep.
We had the murder of George Floyd.
Mhm.
We just wrapped up, a very interesting, I'll say interesting election that has really kind of, caused a lot of people to feel very not hopeful in what the future looks like. So where do you show up, when you think about what a leader needs to be during this time, this day and time?
Yeah. So I think for me, and I can only speak for myself as a leader in this day and time, it's all about empowerment. I have to empower and encourage those that I lead to be big, to think big, to act boldly, and to realize their full potential. And then I need to back them up and I need to support them at every possible moment in time, kicking down doors, running the gauntlet for them to ensure that they can reach their full potential. But I think as leaders, it's important for us to constantly remind the world around us that's trying to do away with DEI that it's important. We are going to stand 10 feet down on it, and we're going to make sure that they never forget the importance of it and the relevancy of it and how it has been of benefit to this point. So you can't just put it under the carpet and say, we're not going to do that anymore because it is why we are where we are today. And if we
Absolutely.
continue to succeed, we have to continue it, whether it is coming from a top or not. It's a groundswell. We have to bring it from the bottom up and keep it in front and center in everyone's mind.
Mhm.
So, what advice would you give to, and I want to be specific about this, to Black women who are in leadership positions right now? Because everyone's feeling, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty. And, what advice would you give to them right now that would, more than anything, not necessarily to help them lead their team,
Mhm.
but how to help them themselves, how to take care of themselves?
Yeah. So, first, I would say embrace your authenticity and be absolutely resolute in the fact that you belong in the rooms that you are in because your experience, your expertise, your knowledge are extremely valuable and need to be in the room. And you've earned that spot, and don't let anybody tell you you don't.
Mhm.
Stay true to your core values and always lead with it. I think I said that in the video. I say a support network, either mentors, sponsors, advocates is important, but I would say advocate for yourself and your ideas with extreme confidence and
Mhm.
ensure your voice is heard. And then I'm going to say this, and I know this is hard for people in this circumstance may not allow it to be, but I'm going to say address microaggressions in the
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
Don't let it linger. Do so thoughtfully and use it as an education moment
Mhm.
and maintain professionalism and all that stuff. But don't let them linger because you, by letting them linger, it feels like you're advocating that that's okay, and it's not
Mhm.
okay. And if
Mhm.
you don't call people out in the moment, I always say feedback in the moment, not 3 days later when they've forgotten what they did. Microaggressions need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed immediately. And if you don't, you're kind of co-signing. Is my thought. That's my personal feeling. So,
No, that's a really good segue into a very important question that I wanted to ask you, because I think it's important for all of us to be able to tell our truth. And
mhm.
I want you to think about a time where you faced significant challenges and microaggressions in your career, and how you navigated that. And by no means do you have to name names or anything like that, but I think it's important for people to understand that you're not where you are today because it was an easy road.
No.
You know, there were challenges along the way, and in order to stay at the top of your game, you have to navigate those challenges in a very eloquent and respectful way. And I would love for you to be able to shed some light on that.
Yeah. So I won't name names, but I think people will probably put two and two together. But I was at a large global PR agency, and I was named the managing director of said agency. And I'm pretty sure I was selected because there was an opportunity to be the first Black global office. And so they knew that, and they thought that would be a really good feather in their cap. But I also was selected, I think, because the person that had the role before me was moving up and thought that he could control me into running the office the exact same way that he had, which anybody who knows me doesn't know that that's not going to happen. He thought I was going to run things the way he did, and when he realized I was not, something changed. There was a move in our relationship and how he engaged with me and how he started to undermine me and how he started to gaslight me. And when the light bulb went off, I was like, oh my God, this is like not what I was expecting. But I navigated through it. I continued to do things my way, much to his chagrin. And then he put me on a performance improvement plan. This is after 2 years of double-digit growth. How do you put somebody on a performance plan when they improve the office 2 years in a row, double digits? That's like crazy to me. Like, okay, so we're gonna play this game. Okay, that's fine. So about the same time, and this is a lesson in never burn a bridge, a competitor called me. Could we ever steal you away? I was like, well, you know what? Let's have a conversation. Yeah, but let's have a conversation. We had a conversation. I went through the interview process. I accepted the job. I got a $20,000 raise, and I was able to leave the first part agency on my own terms.
I know that's right.
He pulled the rug out from under him because he was expecting, he was building the narrative to exit me from the organization. Guess what? I played my card first. I exited. I got a raise, and I moved on.
Checkmate.
Checkmate.
You were playing chess while he was playing checkers.
Right? Exactly. But it was one of those times where I literally watched the narrative that he was building, both at the upper levels in New York and in my office with my team. But the funny part was my team loved me. So the team was looking at him like, what are you talking about? She doesn't do that. She doesn't think that. She doesn't treat us that way. And he was building a narrative that I did. And so he was hitting a wall. So it didn't work out well for him.
So during that time, I think about when I've been in a situation, and I know Nakia and Tawanda, you have also, when you go into those stressful situations day after day. So he is building his case against you. During that time, how do you preserve your peace? Because I know that when I'm stressed, it's like it comes out through, I internalize it. Blood pressure gets high. I'm, can't eat I don't eat very much, and whatever the case may be. How do you preserve your peace and integrity when someone is trying to tear you down?
Yeah. So I get insomnia. I don't sleep. That's how I know that I'm stressed, is when I stop sleeping. But I'll go back to, I embrace who I am. I like me. I don't care if you like me. You don't have to like me. It's fine. I am who I am, and I am unapologetic about my expertise, what I bring to the table, my perspectives, my values, all of those things. And so I always try to prioritize myself first and foremost in my well-being. I'm clear about what I will and will not tolerate. You can dish it. I don't have to listen. I can put myself in a box, and you can be all this noise outside my head. I just don't listen to it. Um, so
Mm.
I really, really am clear about what I won't tolerate in terms of disrespect, overwork, unrealistic demands, all of these things. And I take care of myself. I read my daily devotionals, I rest, I pamper me, I spend time with family and friends, but I can easily compartmentalize. And I think for me, it works
Yeah.
because I can shut out the noise of all these things that are frankly a distraction from me living my best life. And that is always my goal, is to live my best life, because I am very clear that we all come with the expiration date.
Yes.
I'm trying to enjoy everything I can between the dashes on my tombstone, right? So is about me and living my best life, and the rest of it, I just don't have time. I'm not going to deal with the foolishness. Not.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And knowing that, we do not, we all do have an expiration date. Um, Tell us, what are some of your audacious goals that you have, you know, coming up? I know that, we had a discussion, you have some, really great um, ventures that you are going to be launching very soon, publicly. And I wanted to kind of get your understand, like kind of let you tell the people, what you have going on, what's next for you.
Yeah. So for a very, very long time, I have had this innate sense of purpose that I am supposed to be helping other people fulfill their personal passions, points, pursuits, career goals, etc., and that I needed to be coaching.
Mm.
And I pushed it off and pushed it off and pushed it off because I had committed 30 years to this industry that I've been in. I got my APR. I've been like PR, say everything, but I kept saying, yeah, no, no, no.
Everything.
My ear is saying coaching, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then beginning of this year, I said, you know what, let's start the process. So I enrolled in a coaching development program, a certification program, um, and started to pursue my coaching certification. And coming out of that, I started coaching people. I have so many hours before I can even sit for the test. And it started to fill me. It started to really fill me up and make me feel happy.
Mm.
Wow.
And so I think a week or so ago, and then news to everyone that's watching this video, my job was nominated at my day job 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. And so I always say, when God closes the door, he opens a window. And he was like, if you're not going to close the chapter, I'm going to close it for you.
Right.
Chapter for the day job got closed. And so I officially announced on LinkedIn or so ago that I am officially Signature Leadership is my new company. And I have 6 amazing clients that I am working with, and I'm growing slowly but surely every day. But I'm stepping out on faith into this entrepreneurship world, and I am loving it. And I have a quote right here that says, go where your heart wants to be, where it feels happy and healthy, not heavy and hurt. And so that is what I am doing. And I am
I just have to say, you are just beaming with so much
I
brightness.
know.
Like, you are truly, I can feel like the passion, like, just through what you're talking about. And like, you really feel like you are s- really standing in your purpose. Like, you are
Yes.
walking your purpose. And I love that for you.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to get here, but it feels so right. And
Yeah.
so if it feels that right, it can't be wrong, right? So that's it.
No, I love it. Signature Leadership. So, Alicia, where can people find you if they're interested in your services? Who's the right, target demographic for you? I want to make sure that our listeners, if anyone is listening and they're like, you know what, this would be a great fit for me, how do they get in touch with you?
So visit my website, signatureleadership.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a DM. My audience is twofold, right? There's the senior level executives and partners and SVPs and above who are trying in this changing world of work in generational marketplaces. They're trying to figure out how to communicate their vision and how to define their leadership, their signature leadership. And then there's those that are making that transformation from, say, a director level to a vice president for the first time, and they are trying to define who they are and how they want to show up in the marketplace. So
Mhm.
those two polar opposites right now is where my space is. I'm leaning. It will continue to hone and tighten up, but for now, those are the two groups that I'm working with, and I am enjoying it because I remember the transition from director to vice president, one of the hardest transitions I ever made. And I remember when I started to lead bigger and bigger teams, the challenge of
Mm.
figuring out my leadership style to most effectively do that.
I love it. I love it. I'm not surprised that this is your next because I think it perfectly suits who you are at your core. And of course, we are rooting for you. And if there's anything that we can do to support you in this new venture, please let us know. Please, please, please let us know. But that is a wrap for another episode of Black and Audacious. And Alicia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
And
having
your
me.
story. We really, really appreciate it. And I know that our listeners are going to love this episode. And anyone that's listening, make sure you please tune in. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and don't forget to comment and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's really, really important for more bold conversations. But until next time, everyone, stay Black and audacious. Bye.